Welcome to another great show on Where There's a Will, There's a Way. And we have a great conversation today coming up with a general manager and soon to be owner of Fun Productions, a real entrepreneur, son of an entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you so much for having me, Will. I'm glad to be here.
So, the Abbott family has a long history of entrepreneurial activities, right?
We do, yeah. They started this company back in 1991, shortly before I was born, so that they didn't have to go back to a regular job after they had their first kid.
All right. Well, and with the first kid, they found they had more than one job.
Exactly, exactly.
I was over at our great grandkids' house last night. She's three, and Tegan is three, and Wyatt is 1.5. And my goodness, I realized, wow, these mothers have such a huge job to do with these kids running around all day long.
Oh,
Wow,
absolutely, absolutely.
amazing,
Yeah, I've got
amazing.
a tremendous amount of respect for my own mother as well.
So tell us about Fun Productions.
Yeah, so we're a event rental company based in Denver, Colorado. We're mostly in Colorado, but we travel to the surrounding states, and every once in a while we get some equipment that we were flying out to New York or LA. Did a 10 city tour with some stuff a couple years ago. So we specialize in fun and games. Uh, I like to tell our clients if it's fun, we have it, and if we don't, we'll look into getting it for your event.
Right.
So essentially, people contact us. We've got a warehouse full of fun stuff, and people contact us to have the equipment delivered to hotels, different venues, private residences, whatever it may be, for
Oh.
mostly corporate events. But we do a lot of school, church, a few weddings here and there, that type of stuff.
So how many events would you say that you supply Fun Productions for every year?
Oh, pre-COVID, we were at 800 a year. We were doing roughly 800 events per year. Yeah. Now we're getting, starting to come back massive right now. But I would say in the last 2 years, we were averaging between 300 and 400 events per year.
Wow.
Yep.
Amazing. Amazing. That's just astounding. Now, so how big is the company? How many people?
Again, pre-COVID, we were 16 full-time, with another 3 or 4 part-time on the schedule, working about 20 to 30 hours a week, and then we have a slew of casino dealers and event staff. I would say roughly 300 of those types of folks.
Oh.
Now there is 6 of us full time, one part time. We're currently hiring, so hopefully those numbers go up to closer to say 9 full time with another 2 part time. And our event staff and casino dealers are they're about 150 to 200 of those right now.
Wow. So tell me how EOS has affected your company and your life.
Oh, it was huge. That was the big game changer back in 2017, I want to say 2017, 2018, when it was first introduced to the company, and it was a big change very quick. We went from we would make a profit every year, but it was a minimal profit. That switched. We increased our revenue by 60% in 2 years,
Mm.
and increased our profit by 145% in 2 years, on top of giving people a lot more freedom, teaching people how to say no to clients, so we weren't pushing our operations crew into 16-hour days. So it was a massive change with EOS. I would say that was the biggest thing the company's done in its 20 plus or almost 30-year history now, to really affect change and make a difference for everybody, not just the owners and upper management.
Oh, so tell me what particular tools or disciplines would you say were uh, the most helpful? I mean, I see the results. I mean, I can hear the results. Increased
Mhm.
revenue and more control of your time, so that you had more free time. Uh, what tools do you remember as being most significant?
I would have to say the L10 meetings. Just we had meetings before, but they weren't always in the same day. They weren't always in the same time. If somebody felt like they were, quote unquote, too busy for the all company meeting, we would let them skip it. It wasn't, we weren't taking them nearly as seriously. Whereas when we started doing those L10s, one, everybody just being together in a room with all of the brains. So if there was an issue with the HR, it was told to the operations director who could pass that on to the team. um, and then the planning aspect of it, we started, we were able to start working on the business and not just in the business. Whereas I think pre uh, EOS, we were very reactionary. It was, oh, this happened, so let's do this,
Hmm.
versus this may happen, that may happen, so let's start planning for all of these. And then the process tools that are involved in EOS is writing down a process for things and using and following those processes really changed things. Like I said earlier, we started saying no to people. I think that was a big thing that the company had never done is, oh, if all of these jobs are coming in now, let's get them all in now. But what we started to find is when we do that, and when we actually had all of our team in a room talking about that, it was like, I mean, we can take this event, but you have to understand it's going to push the operations crew into 16-hour days, and that's how you lose good people.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so I think that was a big one, and then really focusing on the team having a larger voice than the owner,
Hmm.
um, where it's, one person can say we're going to do A, B, and C, and that's how it has to be.
Hmm.
But once we allowed the team to start questioning that, it was like, oh, you're right. That doesn't make a lot of sense. It made sense in my brain sitting in the office, but it doesn't make sense logistically when we start really putting feet on the ground.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, that's wonderful. Now, how did the whole team react to this new operating system?
Um, for the most part, it was all positive. There was some pushback from folks that had been here for multiple years and were sort of, this is how it's done and this is how I've always done it. There was a little pushback. We did lose one person that was scheduled to be on the leadership team, which, I'm still in contact with her, and she's awesome and she's doing great in other positions. She just was ready for it to be like it's always been, and she did not was not nearly as ready for the change. So we lost one person that had been with the company for a little while, and in trade for that, we gained a full team that had voices.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And once even the few people that did have a bit of pushback, once they started getting into it and realizing that, like, oh, if we all do it this way, we talk about issues weeks before they are potential issues.
Yes.
Turns out they ended up with way more freedom. They a lot more time. They started coming in at 9 a.m. and leaving at 5 at latest 6 p.m. when before there was days that they were forced coming in on weekends to make up work and stuff like that. So
Wow.
I think it was all positive. Once we got into it and once we really started focusing on it, it was very, very positive.
And it's not unusual for people to move around on these leadership teams, depend upon whether they're the right person in the wrong seat or they're just the wrong person, right?
Exactly.
They don't agree with the core values or don't agree with the direction. Find some place where they really do enjoy what they're doing.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Now, so let's talk a little bit about the EOS life. I mean, this whole idea of doing what you love with people you love, making a great contribution, uh, being compensated appropriately, and then having plenty of time left over for the rest, for the other passions and especially your family.
Yeah.
So, how has that? What kind of impact has that had on you personally?
Oh, it's been incredible, especially pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. It was one of those where I had days off to go follow passions, hike 14ers, go snowboarding, kayaking, hang out with friends, whatever it may be. I had time to do that without sacrificing my time with the company and still being an integral piece of the company. So it was incredible. I was had always had 2 days off, sometimes 3 days off a week, but things were still getting done. Where it felt like in the past, six days a week was a very normal thing around here. Um,
Uh-huh.
and now I think we're working back to that at the moment. So we're a seasonal business as well. Obviously, the nicer the
Hmm.
weather, the more events that we're having. So these days, I'm living the EOS life exactly how it's laid out. Right, expecting a change, expecting to have to work a bit more come June, July, August. But still, the ability to say no to clients, say no to people that are coming in with incredibly late requests, knowing that this whatever $2,000 isn't going to make or break the company.
Right. Yeah. And everybody agrees on that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Everybody agrees on that, and empowered to hire more people once we're gonna get busier, knowing that we're gonna get busier because we have those processes that were set up in how to do
Right.
that and interview with the team so that if they're going to be an operations person, it doesn't make the most sense for me to do all of the interviewing. The operations team
Right.
needs to talk to this person to make sure that they're going to
Yeah.
be a good
Yeah.
fit, and hiring, like you said, hiring based off of core values, not just who we think is going to fit. Like, no, if we know who is going to fit and who's not going to
Right.
fit.
And that's the place where doing what you love with people that you love. It's that core values, isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's you can have somebody that's an amazing worker who absolutely kicks butt, but is aggressive and hard to be around. And we'd rather have somebody that maybe needs a break here and again, but we know is will fit with the team
Uh-huh.
because you have that one person that's amazing, and if the team absolutely hates them, I'd rather have two decent workers that are fit with the team and gel with everyone than one amazing worker that no one can stand.
Well, all right. So how are you? How do you talk about the great contribution? What's the framework for understanding how fun productions makes the world a better place?
Yeah, so I think that was a struggle for a long time because it was, oh, we're just the fun people. We're just you don't need us at your event. And then the mind shift change of you can learn. I don't remember who said this, but you can learn more about a person in an hour of play than you can in a year of work. So understanding that, and then having the thought that, like, yeah, just because we're working for larger corporations doesn't mean that the folks enjoying the actual party, they might not get this. This might be the one event that they get to go to a year, and a lot of them are looking forward to it. So it's giving people permission to play in an environment where they feel included, and that
Uh-huh.
starts all the way from the company down to the folks that we are dealing with when we're first setting up the contract, all the way down to the 4-year-old who's at the event playing on the moonbounce.
Have you have you ever challenged what it is that you do? What does it say in your vision traction organ, your VTO? What is your purpose?
That is that
What is
I
your purpose?
that's it right there, as I just recited, is giving people permission to play, and building communities where everyone feels important and engaged.
Wow. You're not in the rental business.
No, 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 no. That was a big mind shift change for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that whole notion of railroads saying we're in the railroad business when the railroads were coming to an end versus we're in the transportation business.
Absolutely.
And to move from, some of the major oil companies, to move from we're an oil company to we're an energy provider.
Yep.
I mean, and I'm sure it's going to go a lot further than that, but it's amazing to me what happens when you move from this is what we do in a very concrete sense, like we rent party facilitation, to we're actually we're actually providing, and I like what you said, we're providing permission for people to have fun.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. There was one construction company in Ohio that I just loved. Uh, when we came down to this was even in the focus day, right in the very beginning. Well, excuse, it'd be at VB1, but when we come down to asking about what's your core focus, they immediately said we know exactly what our core focus is. It is for every person who has ever been hired and works at this construction company when they retire to be financially secure.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
No prompting. It was just that's where they were. I was so impressed with that.
That is good. Yeah, I'm see that is we it took us a little while during that day to get out of the well, we bring the fun
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
to no, we're really doing more than that than just bringing fun stuff to the party.
So how is it that you make sure that everyone is being compensated appropriately? What mechanism do you use?
So we built because a long time for a very long time it was wait for people to ask for raises, and if they ask for a raise, assess and give them a raise. But what we found is there's folks out there that they're not going to ask for a raise, and they may start to feel resentment around the fact that they haven't been offered a raise.
Mhm.
So what we did is we built a badge system. So we have a carnival equipment, casino equipment, photo video equipment, inflatable equipment. So we started building badges around that and attached a raise level to that,
Uh-huh.
anywhere between 50 cents and $2 depending on the level of difficulty of that badge.
Mhm.
And so we wrote up, a whole system of this is everything you have to know how to set up. This is you have to work X amount of events with this equipment on it. And then from there, you take a very, very simple, easy test that we developed to get your badge. So once you go through those checklists and you've marked off, yes, I've done this, I've done that, and had your supervisor sign off for it, you take a little test and you get the raise that is associated with that badge. So we really put it in the hands of the employees because
Right.
we do want people to show that they're committed, not just ask for raises because they think they deserve one. We wanted people to let us know that they were committed to working for the company, and all you have to do is essentially your job with a little bit of extra paperwork, and we were willing to pay folks more. So that's how we went about giving like the operations crew raises so that they were like you said, they were compensated appropriately for their skill level at the company.
All right.
And then I think it's just a lot of communication with everybody else, is knowing that if we had profit last year, that's a good assessment of this is how much we can afford to give folks, and being open to them coming in and talking about how much they're getting paid. There's the old adage of no one's allowed to talk about their money in the company. Like no one talks about how much they're making, which is it's an old way of thinking,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm more than comfortable with
Right.
everybody talking about how much they make with everybody else
Right.
because there's a reason they're making that, and if they feel like it's way lower than it should be, I'm willing to talk about
Yeah.
that.
Now, these badges, it's a nice gamification of it, right? It turns it into a
Absolutely.
when you say badges, I always think of Boy Scouts and merit badges, but and it's kind of like that, right? Here's what you put together to progress along. Now, I'm presuming. Let me ask the question: these badges, these skill levels, does that bring more value to the company when somebody knows more about how to run various pieces?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and it's not just more value to the company, but it's a confidence
Uh-huh.
that they know it
Hmm.
because we have on paper showing all the dates and event names that they did work this equipment. It's not just a, oh yeah, 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 he's set it up a few times, he's good. It's
Right.
I have proof and paperwork showing that folks know how to do this stuff. So it's
Yeah.
a massive value to the company for people to know more, on top of a confidence within me that of course they know how to do it. They've been signed off on it already.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. That's wonderful. I mean, for people to actually know the process for increasing their value and consequently increasing the compensation that they're getting. And so it's obvious that how can somebody not be compensated appropriately in a company that's organized that way?
Absolutely.
All right. So what about uh, plenty of time left over? Now, how do you guys deal with that? What's
Yeah, so part of it is being seasonal. So we let folks know that, during certain times of the year, if you want to take the whole month off, you can take the whole month off. Um, and knowing that, we're going to be busier in these times, and again, with the being compensated appropriately, we're going to be more than willing to offer you overtime if you want it. Um, and then using those event staff folks in an appropriate manner where it's, all right, I know, this is a much smaller event. It doesn't necessarily need to be one of our full-time crew members going to do this when somebody in their truck or van or SUV can go deliver this equipment. And so offering different jobs to a large variety of people so that we can get our full-time guys off, um, and getting away from that thinking of you have to be in at 9 a.m. You have to work for 8 hours. If you want to take some time off, if you want to leave early on certain days, we're very open
uh,
to that.
yeah.
Um, and also getting enough people where we're not forcing the 3 4 full-time operations crew to do everything.
Uh-huh.
We're bringing new folks in to give these guys a break.
Uh-huh.
And then I think the another big one is saying no to clients,
Uh-huh.
is knowing when we're going to be too busy.
Uh-huh.
Is is this $2,000 job, is that worth the potential of losing a great employee because we're overworking them?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I think that was a big thing in making sure everyone has enough time, and we have a PTO where we are always advanced of what the state is requiring, because one, they're eventually going to up those requirements and we want to be ready for that, and two, we want people to have their cake and eat it too. Why, everyone says you can't do that, but why can't you do that?
Well,
Sure you can.
that really is a life, isn't it? Having your cake and then eating it too. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what it's about,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
And what I find so significant of companies in today's marketplace is that it's no longer just put up with this crappy job for 30 years and you'll get retirement and you'll be able to do anything you want, which is just such a big fantasy. The,
Yep.
the point is, how are you enjoying now? So here's a question for you. With your employees, they have other passions, including their family, right?
Oh, absolutely.
How do you learn about them and celebrate those other passions?
We one, being a smaller company, we're tight knit. So we're with each other constantly, but we have what we call the culture club.
Uh-huh.
So anybody who wants to is allowed to join the culture club, and we do those meetings once a month and talk about how everyone is feeling. We then highlight a new person at every one of our all company meetings. We highlight somebody who has filled out a form that says they're, what's your, it's just a list of questions, and we ask them to answer as many as they want or as few as they want. And then we highlight that person in the all company meeting and talk about this is what he loves doing. This is his favorite kind of food, whatever it may be. And then we do a monthly happy hour with the whole company. Anybody who wants to come, obviously, no one's forced to come to the monthly happy hour because it's
Okay.
after work hours. But anybody who wants to come to this, we go to a different bar and restaurant, and the company pays for the first couple of drinks for everybody, and we
Uh-huh.
just sit there and talk. No business.
Yeah.
It's just talking with each other about stuff, not talking about anything that has to do with the company.
It's amazing to me, and you're not the first one, that companies, certainly companies that are running on EOS, but other companies too who are paying attention, have really shifted from this notion of employees being assets. They're not. They're not assets. They're human beings.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
to move from this notion of assets to human beings, I think puts its finger on some things that we've done wrong in the past by saying if they're assets, always you look at assets, they fall into mathematical categories and algorithms, and it's like, well, if we could get to 80% of the quality from 50% with 50% or less of the cost, why wouldn't we find other assets to replace these assets? Well, wait a minute. We're not talking
Yep.
about assets, we're talking about people. And so if you're
Exactly.
talking about taking jobs away, then as a company, do you have anything at all that you can, should, or might, or would do to deal with these people that you've just taken away their livelihood?
Hmm.
Uh, it's a tough balancing act, but I think one of the big pieces in moving toward a more human business world is not talking about our employees as assets.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think I totally agree with you, and you're seeing it now, especially in the tech world. You know, people they're allowed to work out at work. They're allowed to, they have snacks. There's a lot of companies that are doing, you know, full taps for beer and stuff like that, and people can have a beer at work if they want.
Huh?
So it's the world is going to become, that's going to be the only way to attract top talent,
Yeah.
and it's moving there quick these days. So yeah, it's adapting constantly to, everything's cloud based, and prior we were like, no, we could. It's rough because we could never have anybody work from home at this company, unfortunately. To like, no, there's plenty of jobs that we have available where people can be remote, and just making those mind shift changes and figuring out how to make it work logistically has been huge for us
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
not just attracting talent but retaining talent.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is this notion of the EOS life. I mean, the parts of it, and talking about that, has that, do you see an impact on your ability to attract and recruit great talent?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those where, obviously the right now the whatever they're calling it, the Great Recession or
Great resignation, huh?
Great Resignation, the Great Resignation. Yes, we were terrified that
Uh-huh.
we're gonna put out ads for folks and not see anything, because that's what we were hearing from our industry is like, oh, I'm trying to hire 300 people right now, and I had 10 applications. In Colorado, actually, the airport, DIA, just had a huge hiring fair where they were expecting 3,500 people, and 100 people showed up.
Wow,
Yeah.
100.
Yeah. And so that's what we thought we were going to face. And then turns out when you pay people appropriately, offer benefits, we do a profit sharing within the company. So 3% of the profit of every event goes into a pool that is available for employees to get, as long as the paperwork is filled out right. As you do your base level job, we're willing to throw you a 3% profit from every event that we do.
Wow.
Um, we put out ads for one person. We were just looking for one person last year, and I think we ended up turning LinkedIn off, or whatever system we were using, after we got 35 applications in 4 days. And it was like, oh, okay. So some people may be having issues hiring, but it doesn't look like it's going to be us.
Yeah. Well, I think learning how to deal with people, how to be curious about the people who are my direct reports, how to I've only found two reasons that people leave, and one is that they they don't feel like their boss is on their side or their managers is on their side. Uh, it's just not working out for them, or they're no longer feeling any challenge.
Yep,
And to me, both of those are communications issues,
100%.
right? In learning how to be a great leader and a great manager, that's what leads to accountability in any company. And so paying a lot of attention, learning knowing what the other person wants, and knowing that my employee knows what I as a manager want. We have
Hmm.
shared our expectations. We spend time together talking. We talk about where they want to go and how they want to get there. And for you, it sounds like your managers would be in a place to talk to them about how to get more badges, how to move up in the company's skill level.
Exactly, exactly. And being them having the freedom to train folks properly and you know be in step with the company, knowing full well that if you hold back anything from these people while you're training for, job safety or whatever it may be, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Because if you're the only person that knows how to do this, you have to do it every time.
Yeah.
There's
That's
there's there's no option for you. If the only one person knows how to do payroll, that person has to do payroll every 2 weeks.
uh-huh.
So it's the more you empower your direct reports, the more you are going to have freedom to enjoy the EOS life.
Yeah, it's called delegate, right? Delegate and elevate.
Delegate and elevate.
All right.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
what I'm excited about is EOS predicts that while we're in 15,000 companies right now, by 2030 we will have implemented EOS in 100,000 companies.
Wow.
And if you just took an average number of 50 employees for each one of those 100,000, for the average in 100,000 companies, that's 5 million lives will have been impacted, not even counting their families.
Yep.
I mean, I had one of my clients last week asked me to send him the personal and family VTOs so that he could begin to use the skills and the disciplines and the tools in his family. So 5 million people and their families are going to be impacted. This
Yeah.
is going to make a major shift in how businesses run and how managers see employees.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great to hear. It's one of those where everybody I get the chance to talk to, I'm like, you really should look into this. It's a game changer, and everybody that has totally agreed that, oh my goodness, you're right. This has made everybody more enjoyable. It's one, they're like we talked about earlier, you may lose people,
Hmm.
but I don't think you're gonna lose anybody who is supposed to be there.
Hmm.
And that's huge. It's gonna free up your time. It's gonna free up your manager's time. It's gonna give employees more power to make decisions. And everybody I've talked to that has decided to go through with it has, 3, 4 months later, they're like, we're so glad we did this. Everybody is so much happier now.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing. Well, ha, when you talk to friends, what sorts of issues do they have that causes you to say you might want to talk to one of the implementers for EOS?
A lot of times it's the oh, we're way too busy. It's um them, or them not saying no. I get that. I've gotten that quite a few times from people is I send out a request, we'll plan events every once in a while, and so I start to send out requests for catering companies and something, and they're like, ooh, we might be shut down that day. We might have closed our books that day, but let me talk. And then they come back with, if your client's willing to pay a 10% upcharge, we could make it work. And it's like, you sound like a great candidate for EOS because you should have just told me no.
Oh,
That
nice.
or working on site and I'm working with their employees and I'm just hearing complaints from their employees that, oh, this is, I can't believe we're doing this. This is so dumb. They should have just said no to this.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Uh-huh.
overworked. I'm whatever. And
Uh-huh.
then I then see them at a networking event and
Uh-huh.
I'm like, hey, I'm hearing a lot from your staff.
Oh,
You should look into potentially talking to your folks
uh-huh.
because I'm hearing complaints when I'm, on site delivering a party and you're telling me that everything's great. So there's clearly a disconnect between
Yeah,
you and your staff.
right. Interesting. Well, all right. So take a little time and talk to people who are listening to this about how they would find, how they can get permission to have fun in their company.
Yeah. So we like I said, since 1991 we've been doing this. So everything that we do comes with an event promise that you're going to get X, Y, and Z. We're going to show up on time. We're going to show up with the correct equipment. It will be clean and working, and unfortunately those three things are that's a lot in our industry. There's
Yeah.
tons of little companies that pop up and they show up at your event and you ordered a moon bounce and they show up with a bungee run. And that's something we'll never do. And yeah, so our website is all revamped. We are very transparent with our pricing. So all of our pricing, descriptions, dimensions of all of our equipment is there on our website. It's just funproductions.com. Um, we've got a wish list on there as well, so folks can sort of build their party directly from the website without
Yeah.
ever having to call us if they don't want to. And then of course we're always love talking with our clients and partners over the phone. Our phone number is 303-344-8899. Um, so yeah, we've got party packages that are just brand new launched on the website. So save yourself some money if you go with one of these pre-made packages. And yeah, Stephanie Eccles, that's our head of account management. She's a remote employee, but you call the office number and you go direct to her. She's incredible. Um, Super hard worker and a great member of the team. So
And
yeah,
and I wonder how long before we don't even recognize the notion of remote. They're just part of our company.
yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like is with the culture club and the happy hours and the things that we do is we see her enough that it does not feel like remote
Yeah,
at all. It
yeah.
just she's just doesn't sit next to me in the office.
Well, so now, tell companies the value of having fun.
Yeah, I think it's massive. We Comcast is a big client of ours that they do two very large parties, one in the summer and one in the winter for the holiday party, and then throughout their different branches, they'll have just like little fun days where we come and we just drop equipment off, and they can go play it during their breaks. Like I said, we have photo video products, so we bring a photo booth to the events and there's been times that we go in there 5 years later, and there's folks that have their green screen picture from the event that we did 5 years ago, and it's still hanging on their desk. And so when you
Ah,
see stuff like that, that clearly that picture means a lot to them for it to be hanging on their desk for 5 years.
yeah.
There's all sorts of research out there that if you you give your employees permission to play, permission to take breaks, permission to relax, productivity
To,
skyrockets.
to be human
And
beings, right?
exactly. People would much rather be a part of something bigger than just a cog in a machine. And so I think it's huge. Like I said earlier, you learn more about people in an hour of play than you do in a year of work.
Right. Excellent.
And yeah, folks, I see folks on site all the time that it's, they're meeting each other for the first time, especially nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the people being, quote unquote remote employees, there's people that would work together every single day and have never met each other. Once you bring those folks in person
Uh-huh.
and let them engage with each other, it's easier for them to talk to each other
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah.
Our team building portion is, a lot of people think team building and they think, oh, we're gonna do a trust fall. Oh, we're gonna do,
Right.
we're gonna do
Right.
that.
Right.
No, 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 no. We're gonna do a whole survivor themed team building where you all are working together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even just like a simple bike build team building, something where folks are working together for a purpose. It's not just do all these challenges and then woo, have fun, go on your way. It's these bikes are getting donated to children,
Oh,
so you
nice.
really work together to make sure
Nice.
that the kids are getting a nice bike. Birthday boxes that go out to low income families.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah, really.
there's also projects that you help focus on.
Absolutely, yeah. So my folks launched the team building company, Connections Team Building Events. Oh man, I want to say 8 years, 8 to 9 years ago. And it's since been adopted back into Fun Productions. So it's sort of a brand of Fun Productions now. Whereas that's a big one that you're not, if you don't see purpose in letting people just go out and play games, well then bring this into it because now they're you know really working together and getting to play at the same time. We do like assessments at the end every once in a while and talk to the folks about what challenge was the hardest and why. And did you find it easy to work with your team, or were there difficulties working in with your team? With we have IT, HR, operations, everybody, and they're mixed up. So it was like, the IT folks, did you find it harder to work with any HR, any division of the
Yeah.
company? And then
Nice.
there's, talk to them about why that was. And oh, we just have a different communication style. And like, oh, were you able to stretch your rubber band to meet each other, or did you feel like you were stretching all the way
Yeah.
across to meet this
Nice.
person who wouldn't stretch their rubber band?
Well,
So
this is great. This is really wonderful. It opened up a lot of ways that I see that I can suggest to companies. They might talk to you. Some of my clients talk to you, and just to see what is possible. It sounds like you're very focused on helping people to have fun, and in doing
yep,
that, dig into deeper relationship. So
exactly,
well, that's
exactly.
wonderful. That is wonderful. I'm so glad that I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And
Oh, of course,
I
yeah.
just want to ask people who are interested in this to give you a call. Tell us again your website is,
It's funproductions.com.
and I assume that your telephone number is on the website.
Yep, telephone number and multiple different ways to send in requests for either a quote or I'm more than willing to talk with people. We have relationships with other companies in different states. So if you're not in Colorado, one, we're willing to go to you. It's going to be a little bit pricier, but also if I know of a company that's already there, that's established, and we have a relationship with, I'm more than willing to refer people because they will eventually refer us back. So
Excellent. Thanks, Josh, for being with us. This has just been a lot of fun. I've really got to know you a lot better and to know what you do, and also to really appreciate how you and your company have created this opportunity for people to do only what they love doing with people that they love, knowing they're making a great contribution, getting obviously getting compensated appropriately, and then having plenty of time left over for the other passions and their families. This is I really do applaud you for moving forward and being part of this movement for
well, thank you
5 million
so much.
people, 100,000 companies. We're on the way.
I can't wait to see the day that
Yeah,
that happens even more
yeah.
because it's a huge game changer, and
Yeah.
I couldn't suggest it. Couldn't recommend EOS more highly,
Good.
um,
Super.
for anybody out there that is interested.
Well, this is just one more example of where there's a will, there is a way.